What's going on, Tarantino fans? Ryan O'Toole back here again, giving you guys the next episode in the Once Upon a Time with Tarantino series. Thank you guys so much for watching the first episode of the Tarantino series, which was Tarantino's first major film, Reservoir Dogs, which came out in 1992, and I did that with Sawyer Sable. So if you haven't seen that episode yet, it's on my channel right now in the playlist, in the link in the description. So go check out that video, guys. And now we're on the second episode and the second film in Tarantino's big filmography that he directed solely, and that is his first major Oscar hit, Pulp Fiction, which came out in 1994. This film stars John Travolta, Samuel L. Jackson, Bruce Willis, Uma Thurman, Ving Rhames, such a stacked cast, Tim Roth as well, Harvey Keitel. I have an awesome guest right here on my channel that I have not collaborated with before. I've been wanting to collab with him. I think he has a great channel. He's from the channel 3C Films, and that is Chris himself. Chris, welcome to the series, man. How are you doing?
Well, I'm doing well. Thank you, Ryan. I really appreciate what you do on your channel, and when you hit me up asking to be part of this Quentin Tarantino series, I had to jump on it, man. So thank you so much for having me. On my channel, I usually do movie news or movie reviews, but Ryan with these series, he's got something good here.
Well, thank you, Chris, and thank you for joining the channel and the series as well. I'm looking forward to getting into this discussion, man, and it's not going to be Chris and I just talking. Guys, we want you, whoever's watching, to join down below in the comment section and tell us your thoughts and opinions on Pulp Fiction. Do you love it, think it's okay, or do you absolutely hate it? And we're going to be answering questions as well, just like the Endgame series, guys, so be sure to answer every single question. We love to see those comments down below, and let's have a great positive discussion about Pulp Fiction. So this movie came out in 1994, and I have a lot of opinions on the film, but Chris, since you are my guest, man, let's get right to the first question. When did you first get introduced to Quentin Tarantino? I'm very curious about that.
So when people like us start getting intrigued into the movie world, you start diving into, well, who are the best directors? And I think whenever you Google that question, basically 90% of the lists will include Quentin Tarantino's name. So when you see all these lists mention Quentin Tarantino, you have to check out a few of his films. And when you see his resume, everyone points you towards Pulp Fiction. So Pulp Fiction really was my introduction after trying to get into the movie world and figure out who I should be watching, who I should be paying attention to. I mean, this movie came out in 1994. I wasn't even born yet. So I probably discovered this movie maybe 13 years later. And gotta say, even then, it held up.
Yeah, we have a similar experience, man, because Pulp Fiction was the first Tarantino film that I saw. And my mother did not allow me to watch these movies, obviously, because they're rated R. But
of course.
I first watched this movie, I'd say, when I was 19 years old. And Pulp Fiction was just so good. Like, I watched this movie, and I fell in love with Tarantino's style and just his insane swearing and just his blood-shooting scenes and his heavy dialogue scenes. Like, this guy is a huge filmography, and I started to watch after that Django Unchained, Glorious Bastards, etc., etc. And I think Tarantino, this is definitely, arguably, his best film, but for me, it's one of my favorites. Chris, let's go to the next question, man. When did you first see Pulp Fiction, and what are your overall thoughts on Pulp Fiction?
Okay, so first, I didn't know when to expect when seeing it. I mean, even the title, I don't really understand what Pulp Fiction means. Now you look at it and find out that it's from a series of old movies, and Quentin Tarantino's just a diehard for stuff like that. But when I first saw it, like I said, I was 13, probably not the best appropriate age. I think it is better to see it at 19 like you, Ryan. But I mean, it was something to behold. The one thing that captured me really is the way he told the story, how it was cutting back and forth, and it really had to keep you on your toes watching it. It wasn't something at the time you could walk in and out of the room, or if you had your phone on you, you could be turning it on. No, if you really locked eyes and connected the puzzle he was building, it was a really great movie.
So I watched this film for the first time at 19 years old, and Pulp Fiction, I fell in love with it since, and I've seen it a good amount of times. It's fantastic. Tarantino, this is him at his all-star level with his direction, his writing, and the actors that he casts, and he cast John Travolta. John Travolta was really famous with Grease back in the 70s, and Samuel L. Jackson. This is, I think, his breakthrough role after Goodfellas. But I think this is Samuel L. Jackson's best performance to date as Jules. And the film opens up very weird. It tells different stories that are going on for sure. It opens up with Tim Roth and his wife in the film. They're having this 4.5 minute long conversation about them robbing a restaurant, a breakfast restaurant. And then it just goes to the iconic scene, I will shoot every last mother effing one of you. And then it goes to the awesome song. Like, Tarantino is really well known for having classic songs in his openings. And Pulp Fiction's my favorite. It goes right to Jungle Boogie, do, do. And it's so good. And then we go right to John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson talking about, what do you call a quarter pounder with France? A Royale with cheese. A Royale with cheese, and so many things going on in this movie. All right, so Chris, let's go to the third question, man. Okay. Why do you think this was the film to break Tarantino out of the gates? Why do you feel this was such a big Oscar contender?
So I think the reason this really brought him into the spotlight and got him Oscar recognition isn't really for his unique storytelling, because it's kind of been done before at that time where it wasn't really a linear story. Where I think really solidified it is something you mentioned, is his dialogue. It's the way that he can have a 4-minute dialogue conversation between his characters and everyone is enthralled at what they're saying and isn't dozing off or getting bored at the conversation. Something he does much better in Inglourious Basterds, which is like a 20-minute dialogue scene. But talking about more in Pulp Fiction, yeah, those transitions that you're not expecting of people just having a conversation in a diner and then all of a sudden getting up on the table and shooting it down. To me, what really got people going is this guy can write dialogue and a movie that'll keep me interested and on my toes the whole way through.
And that's the main reason, because Tarantino was coming off of Heat. He was coming off stardom after Reservoir Dogs. Like, that film was also 95 to 100% dialogue scenes. There's not much action. And Tarantino had these actors really into their stardom after these films. He launched the career of Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta after Grease. So he does a really great job of casting. And he's also really well known for casting the same actors in all of his movies, like Tim Roth, like Michael Madsen, and Samuel L. Jackson. Like, he knows how to cast right, and the casting in this film is perfect, which I think transitions to the perfect question, to question number 4, Chris. Who's your favorite character in this movie?
Oh, see, now that's kind of tough, because I think the obvious choice to go with is Samuel Jackson. Because, I mean, he's just a total badass in this movie. Every line he says, you want to grow up to be as cool as this man. But I'm going to stay away from probably the obvious and go, you know what? Quentin Tarantino himself played a really good part in this movie, and I like
as Jimmy.
Yeah, as Jimmy. I thought he was really funny, really quirky. Yeah. The way he like gets angry about you bringing me a dead body to my house. I'm trying to drink coffee. Like, I don't know. He's the grumpy old man I hope to become one day. So, in fact, I'm gonna go with Quentin Tarantino in this movie.
Yeah, I love Jimmy. He was so freaking funny. Yeah, you see this coffee? This is the good shit. I buy this shit.
Yeah.
I love him. Yeah, I'm also not going to pick Samuel Jackson because he's obviously my favorite. But I'm going to go with Bruce Willis as Butch Coolidge. Yes. This Asian boxer who is afraid of Marcellus Wallace coming across him, played by Ving Rhames, because he challenged him to fight, and obviously. And with Bruce Willis's character, he becomes the main character in the second act of this movie. At first, you think John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson are the main characters, but they get thrown to the side till the final act. And so we focus on Bruce Willis's Butch Coolidge. And I think Butch Coolidge is an awesome character because he's an Asian boxer. He has a really dumb wife who makes some stupid decisions, like losing his father's watch. And then we just focus on dialogue scenes between Bruce Willis and Marcellus Wallace, who I absolutely love, played by Ving Rhames. So funny. That pawn shop sequence is such great dialogue scenes. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That pawn shop scene was some of the best filmmaking I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Wow. Like, the second act, a lot of people say is the weakest. I 100% disagree. Yeah. Like, this movie's perfect.
Yeah.
And then once we get to the final act, we go back to Samuel Jackson and John Travolta's characters. And then that whole diner scene extended with Jules and Tim Roth as well is so good. Like, all the dialogue's great. And Harvey Keitel as well. Harvey Keitel as Winston the Wolf. I love it. Chris, let's go to the next question.
Yes.
What's your favorite scene in this movie?
Oh man, favorite scene here. Now this is a hard one because I have to think back at it, and I'm wondering because the scenes are kind of all over the place, like I said, with the nonlinear storytelling. But it has to be the interrogation scene when Samuel Jackson is interrogating. I forget the actor's name, but I know he voices Samurai Jack in Cartoon Network. Maybe I have the IMDb list pulled up here. So yeah, IMDb Phil Lamar when he's interrogating him and drinking his drink and having his hamburger, that whole scene right there, and John Travolta opening the mystery case with the gold rushing out. We don't know what it is. I always assumed it was gold, but people have their own theories on that. To me, that'd have to be my favorite scene.
Oh, yeah. The path of the righteous man is beset on all sides by the inequalities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men. Blessed is he who in the name of charity and goodwill shepherds the wheat through the valley of darkness, for he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children. And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to poison and destroy my brothers. And you will know my name is the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon thee.
Good job, Ryan.
Yeah, excellent. Give me an Oscar.
Yes, right.
All right, I'm not gonna go with that scene again. It's the obvious. I'm gonna go with the pawn shop scene as well. Another scene that I absolutely love is the Jimmy House scene with Quentin Tarantino. I think that's so good. Like the final acts of this movie are great. The breakfast diner scene, the opening scene, like. There's not a bad scene to this movie if you think about it. Which goes to the next question. Chris, are there any scenes that you found kind of dull or lagging? Like a least favorite scene, would you say?
Not dull or lagging, and I might get some heat for this, but I remember watching it for the first time and the Christopher Walker scene. As much as I love Christopher Walker and the whole scene revolving around the watch and sticking out the butt, I just remember watching it for the first time and going, why is this so relevant? Why is it so in detail about a watch sticking it up a butt and all that stuff? To me, I guess to some people it's funny. It definitely goes into the story and why she's wanting this piece of jewelry so badly in the movie. But to me, I felt it was out of place and spent a little too much time. Great Christopher Walken. Great to have Christopher Walken in there. But to me, that was always the thing that was like, I don't know if I needed to be in there.
Yeah, Christopher Walken as Captain Coombs comes into young Butch Coolidge as a kid and gives him his daddy's watch because they were friends in the war and all that. That's definitely one of the scenes that felt a little too long, but for sure that's the only scene I can think of compared to the rest of the film that's just not as entertaining as the other scenes. So I definitely agree and see where you're coming from, man, because the rest of the film's so fantastic. So Chris, let's go to the next question, man. This is question number 7. What were your issues with this movie overall? If you were doing it, what would you have done differently? What are your issues with Pulp Fiction?
Oh man, see that's hard because I mean, how could I improve a Quentin Tarantino movie? You know, me myself, Quentin just has a way with doing it, and to me, nothing really. It's just something personal, and I don't know what it is about Quentin, but it seems every now and then in his movies he has rape or forcible actions like that, and I don't know, to me it just I just don't like seeing that stuff on film, and I just cringe. And it's one of those things, even when I rewatch Pulp Fiction, I just want to fast forward. I don't really want to stay watching stuff like that. So to me, I would try to freak out the audience without going to the level of, I guess, male rape or anything like that. But that's just me.
Totally understandable, man. Totally understandable. There's definitely nothing I would change about this movie. For sure, it's a perfect film. It's a Tarantino masterpiece, of course. Definitely that Christopher Walken scene, maybe shorten it a little bit. That's really it, because I freaking love this movie, and it's not worth changing at all. So now let's go to the final question, Chris. Where does this film rank in your Tarantino ranking?
So now with that question, I think the obvious choice would be to go number 1. But I mean, his resume is stacked with a lot of great classics in there. Almost every film he makes ends up going into my highly recommended list for anyone starting up in the movie world that wants to watch a good movie. But I think I'm gonna have to make it as number 3, putting Inglourious Basterds first, then Django Unchained, then Pulp Fiction. Maybe it's just because I saw those most recently as I was growing up into the movie world, but I think it would be number 3 for me. Still a great, not saying nothing bad with it, but those other 2 movies just go higher for me.
All right, yes, definitely, man. Top three is great. For me, this is my number two. Another film I love even more, but Pulp Fiction's fantastic. Top three are just flawless. So there you have it, guys. That was our discussion on Pulp Fiction. So, guys, what do you guys think of Pulp Fiction? Do you agree with me and Chris, or you disagree with me and Chris? And if you do disagree, tell us why in the comment section down below. And Chris, thank you so much, man, for joining me and talking about Pulp Fiction on the Tarantino series. And Chris, really quickly, before we close out this video, man, tell my subscribers where they can find you on all of your social media.
No, thank you for inviting me to come on, Ryan. I really appreciate what you do here, and I respect it. Like he said, guys, let us know down below what you think about Pulp Fiction. Answer all those questions. If you want to go ahead and follow me, I'm at youtube.com/3cfilms, or you can follow me at 3cfilmreview. Really appreciate you having me on, Ryan.
No problem, man. And guys, that does it for Pulp Fiction, guys. And now we're going to go to our next movie and the next video in the Once Upon a Time with Tarantino series, and that is going to be Jackie Brown, which came out in 1997. And joining me for that is my good pal Rudy from Rudy's Movie Reviews, San Antonio's official movie critic. Please go check out Chris's channel, 3C Films. The link is going to be down below in the description of this video. And guys, thank you so much for watching this episode of the Once Upon a Time with Tarantino series. If you guys liked it, be sure to give it a thumbs up on your way out, and be sure to subscribe to Chris once again in the link in the description below. And guys, all of my social media links are also in the description below. Click that notification bell on your way out, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!